G'day everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be restoring an old vise and workbench into this marvellous spectacle that you see right here. Stick around and let's see how it's done. Let's start this video with restoring the bench vise. Both the vise and the workbench I got off my uncle when he sadly passed away a few years ago, so now it's time to return these back to their former glory. So removing all the bolts and lifting up the vise, we can see a whole bunch of dirt in there, and that's probably been there for over 10 years. So let's get rid of that and move on. Cracking this bolt here will allow me to turn the vise, and if it's completely removed, we can then remove the vise from the base. Unscrewing the vise all the way, we can remove the slide and also the nut piece. The main reason I'm restoring this vise is because it takes a few turns of the vise before it opens and closes, and upon inspection it is all because the bolt that holds the nut piece has snapped off. I couldn't find the other half of the bolt, so my guess is that it's been like that for a really long time. After I got it out perfectly with a screw extractor, I installed a new high tensile bolt. Next we can remove these two screws to release a thread from the slide. Now we can remove the vice jaws. I managed to get one off, but the other one's bolt on the other side wouldn't budge. So I tried fire, I tried an extension bar, even tried an impact gun, but I didn't want to snap it, so I just left it alone. Here are all the pieces of the vice laid out on the workbench, and now it's time for a clean. I used a huge can of degreaser on this and sprayed all the pieces, let it sit for a few minutes, then I attacked it with a wire brush, sandpaper and a rag. And I did that to all the parts until they were completely clean. Now all the pieces are ready for a lick of paint, so I taped up everything that did not need to be painted with just old plain masking tape, cut off the excess with a knife blade. Time to paint, and even if this vise is red and I'm repainting the vise red, it is likely that due to the age of the vise the original paint was an oil based, and I'm looking to use a water based paint, so I had to use an oil based primer which would then allow the water based paint to go over top. Oil base will go over water base, but water base will not go over the top of oil base without a primer. With the vise prime with one coat of primer, we can then put on the red paint, and this colour is called Red Bauble, in case you were wondering. I also painted this little plate black. I did a second coat of paint off camera, let it dry overnight in front of the fire, and after doing a satisfying peel effect with the tape, we can then have a look at all the pieces on the workbench. Now it's time to put everything back together. We can grease up the thread on the screw and start putting everything back together, including the nut piece with its new high tensile bolt. We can then drop the body of the vise on and bolt it in. Applying some more grease to the slide where it will come in contact with the body, we can then attach the main thread to the slide. After attaching the jaw, we can then slide the slide back into place, and we are now finished. This vise looks so much better than it did before, and I hope my uncle will be proud of what I've done to his vise. Now it's time to turn our attention to the workbench. Alright, so we've painted our vise, that's completely done. And now we're going to chuck on a new tabletop for this bench top. So the other one's covered in oil, paint and grit, just absolutely everything. This one, I'm going to hopefully make it so I can change it out, so next time it gets dirty it's going to be all good. Okay, we're all marked out, now it's time to cut it with the jigsaw. If I had a table saw I would have used it here, but we don't, so we had to crack out Dad's old jigsaw, which made short work of it. With the test fit successful, I can draw out the mounting holes for the vise and then clamp the boards down and nail them in. Make sure you use a nail punch to knock them below the surface. I added another support piece along with the new plywood panels joined so I could nail them in there, and I soon went around and filled in all the nail holes with filler, then sand them flush with 150 grit sandpaper. Now it's time to drill out the mounting holes for the vise, and I worked my way up to a 10mm drill bit. Now it's time for my favourite part. We're going to be coating the workbench in a floor sealer because it's very durable and will protect the workbench. I personally love watching the wood colour change during this process. After we attach the vise, the workbench is done and looking amazing. So amazing I don't really want to use it because I don't want to scratch it. I really hope my uncle will be proud of what I've done to his bench. There we go, we restored the bench top and the vise into perfect working condition. No doubt they will all get scratched up eventually, but that's the point of having a workbench. If you like this video, make sure you check out some of my others that will be in the outro. Thank you guys so much for watching, I'll see you guys next time.